Two people can feel equally good and sound completely different. One is loud, one is almost silent. If you treated moaning like a pleasure meter, you would conclude that one person is having a much better time. But that meter does not exist. A sexual sound can carry several things at once: physical sensation, breath and effort, an emotional reaction, a message to a partner, and sometimes a performance shaped by expectation. So the real question is not, how loud was it? It is, what did this sound mean for this person, in this moment? One of the largest acoustic studies so far offers a useful starting point. In 2024, a researcher at Lund University analyzed about 34 hours of audio from 2,239 sexual episodes that people had shared online. Near the moments judged most likely to be orgasm, sounds tended to become longer, louder, higher in pitch, more clearly voiced, and less predictable. Those peak bursts were usually not words. They sounded more like the voice losing its neat structure. Contrary to a common stereotype, men in this sample were not less vocal overall, although women tended to begin vocalizing earlier. But this was self-selected online material, not a hidden microphone in a representative bedroom. Orgasm was inferred rather than measured directly. The sample was also heavily weighted toward female vocalizers. The finding is a pattern, not a universal decoder ring. To understand that pattern, begin with the simplest machinery. A voice is moving air. Breath leaves the lungs and passes through the vocal folds. The throat and mouth then shape it. Sexual activity can also involve physical effort, faster or less regular breathing, and muscle tension. It can also bring changes in autonomic arousal. A systematic review found large variation in physical demand, reminding us that there is no single heart rate or breathing profile for sex. As air from the lungs meets partly closed vocal folds, a sigh, gasp, groan, or moan can emerge with very little planning. Change the pressure, tension, or shape of the vocal tract, and the sound changes too. That explains how a sensation can become audible. It does not yet explain how much of the sound is automatic. Human vocal control is not one simple switch. Neuroscience describes partially separable systems. Emotional and more involuntary vocalizations involve limbic and brainstem circuits, including well-studied pathways through the periaqueductal gray. Deliberate speech and voluntary voice rely more heavily on cortical motor control. Both systems must still coordinate breathing and the larynx, and they can operate together. That makes sexual vocalization less like either a reflex or an acting performance. Instead, it behaves more like a mixing desk. One channel may carry an automatic gasp, another may lengthen it, soften it, or turn it toward a partner. This is a useful model, not proof that every individual moan reveals a specific brain circuit. Why shape a sexual sound at all? Because during sex, sound can be communication without a full sentence. It may simply mean, keep doing that. It may invite more intensity, ask for less, signal closeness, reassure a partner, or simply share the feeling with a partner. Researchers studying sexual communication find that people use words, movement, facial expression, touch, and sound to express pleasure, displeasure, needs, and desire. Nonverbal signals can feel easier when explicit instructions seem awkward, or when someone does not want to break the mood, but their convenience creates a problem. The same sound can have different meanings, and the listener must interpret its meaning. That interpretation can create a feedback loop. A person makes a sound, their partner hears it as encouragement, then repeats the action or changes it. That changes the first person's sensation, which changes the next sound. The sound is no longer just a report about pleasure. It becomes part of the event producing pleasure. Attention can strengthen the loop too. Hearing one's own voice may focus awareness on the body, reduce self-conscious thought, or make the moment feel more intense. None of this requires the original sound to be fake. A response can begin spontaneously, become deliberate feedback, and then help generate a new spontaneous response. Still, vocal timing does not map neatly onto orgasm. A 2011 study asked 71 sexually active heterosexual women about their orgasms and vocal behavior. They reported orgasm most often during foreplay, yet their vocalization rose most strongly before and during the male partner's ejaculation itself. Nearly 4 out of 5 said they sometimes vocalized, while knowing they would not orgasm. Many said they had used sound to support a partner's confidence, or, in some situations, to help sex reach an endpoint when they were uncomfortable, bored, tired, or short on time. This was a small, young, self-report sample, so its percentages are not rules for everyone. Its stronger lesson is the mismatch itself. Sound can describe the speaker's sensation, influence a partner, or do both. That brings us to performance, a word that needs care. Performance does not automatically mean malicious deception. Studies of pretending orgasm, involving both women and men, find a wide range of reported motives. Some people want to please or reassure a partner. Some feel insecure. Some want sex to end. Some use expression to intensify their own arousal. Almost like smiling can sometimes lift a mood. Others are following a sexual script learned from past partners, pornography, films, or cultural expectations about what pleasure is supposed to sound like. A sound can be amplified, strategic, emotionally generous, avoidant, or conflicted. Calling all of those simply fake hides the important differences. Can a listener hear those differences? Only imperfectly. In the study's listener experiment, very excessive vocalizing tended to sound less authentic. The naturalistic recordings also became less verbal and more acoustically irregular near the inferred peak. That fits an intuitive idea. A voice under strong emotion may become harder to organize, but perceived authenticity is not lie detection. A naturally quiet person can be overwhelmed without shouting. A naturally expressive person can be loud without reaching orgasm. A deliberate sound can still communicate genuine pleasure, and an automatic sound can reflect surprise, effort, discomfort, or pain. Acoustic clues can suggest a state. They cannot certify one. Individual variation is therefore not noise around the answer. It is part of the answer. People differ in breath habits, vocal inhibition, personality, privacy, past experience, and comfort with being heard. Context changes that same person as well. Thin walls, children nearby, a new partner, body image worries, medication, pain, stress, or simply a preference for quiet can alter vocal behavior. Culture and media probably shape expectations, but direct evidence is thinner than confident internet claims often suggest. There is no scientifically approved amount of moaning. Silence is not evidence of low pleasure, and loudness is not evidence of high pleasure. The ambiguity becomes crucial around consent and pain. A moan is not consent. It cannot replace a clear, freely given, specific, and reversible yes. Nor does a pleasurable sound prove that every action occurring at that moment is wanted. People can freeze, comply, perform, or make involuntary sounds. A sound can also accompany strain or pain. If a signal is unclear, the safe response is not to decode its pitch. It is to check in. Does this feel good? Should I keep going? More? Less? Or stop? And when pain is frequent or severe, it deserves attention from a qualified health professional, not pressure to sound enthusiastic. Good sexual feedback works before, during, and after sex. Beforehand, partners can name boundaries, safer sex needs, words they like, and how they usually signal pause or stop. During sex, a moan can remain part of the conversation, but it works better beside clear options. Like this? Same pressure? Change anything? A hand gesture or movement can help, as long as both people understand it. Afterwards, a low-pressure conversation can correct the guesses. What felt best? Was anything uncomfortable? What should we repeat next time? A meta-analysis covering 93 studies and more than 38,000 participants found that sexual communication was positively associated with both sexual and relationship satisfaction. Communication quality mattered more than simply communicating often. That association does not prove that talking automatically creates satisfaction, but it strongly favors clear feedback over confident guessing. So why do people moan during sex? Because a body is breathing and working. Because emotion can spill into the voice. Because people communicate, encourage, guide, reassure, experiment, and sometimes perform. Because a partner's response can flow back into the experience. And because every signal is filtered through personality, learning, safety, and context. Return to the two people from the beginning. One loud, one quiet, both feeling good. Their volume tells you almost nothing by itself. The useful question is not, did that sound convincing? It is, what does this sound mean for this person, with this partner, right now? The most reliable answer comes from listening, asking, and believing the answer.